Welcome back and Happy New Year. It is Monday, I think January the 9th. Today we started up our first term of court in Horry. We've got two judges. One is a plea judge and one is a trial judge. What happens on Monday is the plea judge will go out and either through some sort of Zoom or, well, it ain't Zoom, it's closed caption, and handle all of the people that are in jail on Mondays, the first Monday. The other judge that is responsible for the trials will hang back, qualify the jury, go through our trial roster, and pick the first case up for trial. So, and that sounds fairly simple, but Judge Price from Charleston is over here doing our trials this week. And we post this trial roster about 3 months in advance. So the defense attorneys have about 90 days to know I'm first up, I'm second up, and to get prepared. In that time, the first case up for trial pled back in November. So as soon as the trial roster come out, the first of those pled. We've talked about this before, but his name was DeMonte Curry, 22. He got 23 years in prison for shooting Jeffrey Monette and killing him. His co-defendant got 12 years for being an accessory after the fact of murder. Both of those guys were already gone, and that put us down to number 2 on the trial roster, which was Javon Gibbs. And Javon Gibbs is somebody that has been arrested and rearrested over and over. He's a fairly young man, but he has never really pulled any time. He's just been involved in a lot of stuff, and we were really never able to pin anything on him except a charge from a few years ago where he did a while away. Again, he's Youthful Offender Act. He's fairly young. But Horry County is much safer right now because Javon Gibbs is behind bars and will stay behind bars. We were asking for 15 years on carjacking and assault and battery high and aggravated nature. The judge gave him 10 years, suspended that to 9 years in prison. So wasn't quite as much as we would have wanted, but his prior record really, even though we knew about it, the judge really couldn't consider a lot of those things. But we're all better off that Javon Gibbs is now gone for the next 8 or 9 years. There was a lot of violence coming out of that young man. Going forward, when he does get out, he will have one most serious strike and one serious strike because of the charges. So he will have 2 strikes against him, and any other serious or most serious offense should gain him life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. I hope, along with everybody else, that he gets out and reforms his life, but just in case, we've got 2 strikes against him going forward. But we won't have to deal with that for 8 or 9 years. There's another case that pled just today. It was a drug case, and that person received 12 years. His name is Tobias Goodman, another young man that we have had a ton of trouble with. Tobias Goodman's a name that I know well. He's from the Longs area, and he pled to distribution of cocaine and possession with intent to distribute fentanyl. So he's got 12 years, and we won't have to worry about him for a while to come. Finally, I want everybody to be aware that today is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And you know, every day is something. I get a kick out of watching some of these shows, it's Gopher Day or it's Redhead Day or it's, always, this is a really important day. These guys get paid starting very little to go out. And I got to thinking about it this morning. When we have a dispute or we feel threatened or anything like that, we call the police. And the police come in not knowing if it's a big dispute, a little dispute, exactly what's going on. And their job is to be peacemakers and to be fair. And we need to be able to believe that at least they're fair. They're going to hear us out and they're going to smooth out the situation that we find ourselves in. Police officers all across the country, and especially here in our area, have been called upon on many ways that 10, 15 years ago they would not have been called out with the problems that, mental health problems that I believe is a result sometimes of abuse of drugs. They are called out to administer Narcan when someone ODs. Their responsibilities have just blossomed over the last decade. And they really have a tough job, and they do it well. They don't do it perfectly, and keep that in mind. We sit around here and we want people to be perfect in everything they do, but thank goodness that that's not the standard that is set for you or I, and it's not the standard for police either. They do the best that they can as long as they are being fair, as long as they are trying to separate us, the citizen trying to do right, from chaos, the citizen trying to prey upon us. That's about all you can ask of them. And today and every other day, we need to see law enforcement officers as what they really are: ministers of the peace, makers of the peace, people that are really out to keep society from just falling into chaos. That's what they talk about all the time with the thin blue line. That line is what separates us from absolute chaos. We live in the greatest nation known to man, the greatest nation created, and a big part of that is because of police officers that go out, put their lives on the line, and try to administer justice, and really in the worst times of our lives. So if you see an officer today, be sure to thank them, give them a wave, and not just today, but every day. They really are there trying to defend your rights. Have a great week.